Hey, 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 good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Wanita Mercer. I'm the founder and chief heart leader at Lead My Heart Executive Coaching and Consulting. And what you're watching is episode number 3 of Fostering Unity in DEIB, the third and final episode. I pray for those who have been joining me that you have been blessed, that you have really found it to be inspiring and beneficial, to your time. I'm not going to waste your time. Your time is way too precious, okay, for that. So I put a lot of time and effort into bringing you all content that is going to help you take it and run with it, to be able to have some deep reflection, to examine where you are, your heart, right? In your heart about certain issues that are important to the work that we do, to handle in our business. And so I'm just here to support you in that and to grow with you. That's what we're doing. We're growing together. I want to take a moment to say happy Tactful Thursday. And for those of you who follow me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're using tact in how we do things, how we communicate, and sometimes we have to make space and take time to do it right and carefully, to not act rash or using the id, right? The idiot part of our heart for ourselves, where we don't really think things through. And again, I don't want to offend anybody, but I talked about that yesterday, the id, the ego, and the super ego. So that's where that's coming from. But we don't want to tap into the id. We want to, tap into the super ego, doing things the right way, but taking time to contemplate it, so that when we do act and people see our ego, it's on brand with who we are and who God has called us to be. I also want to encourage you that as we're talking about DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, I just want you to know that you are seen, you are heard by your Father, your God, your Creator. When the world ignores us, when the world overlooks us, when the world thinks that we're overreacting, that we're not important, I want you to know that your Father sees you and He hears you and He accepts you for who you are. But the amazing thing about God's love is that we can come to Him just as we are. All of our brokenness, all of our mistakes, all of our shortcomings, all the things that we know aren't right in our life. And God says, I still welcome you. You have a home with me. But the great thing about His love is that He loves us too much to keep us where we are, to keep us in that brokenness. But you are loved. You are seen. You are heard. And so I just wanted to take a moment to encourage you and let you know that truth of who you are. All right. So just taking some time for people to get in, you know what I want you to do? You've got some work to do. Here's your assignment to tag and share. Tag people, real people. Who? Let me give you some people to tag. Your family, your friends, your spouse, your significant other, your parents, your colleagues, your supervisor, the people you want to work with, the people you hope to work with, all of them. Tag everybody. You know why? Because this is good stuff, y'all. So I want you to people, and I want you to share this video in groups that you're in who can benefit from this, and who can benefit from this. Everybody. Because as we work together, as we build purposeful partnerships and learn to work well with each other, y'all, we need this. We need to learn how to see and hear each other better in a way that is real and sincere. And this is how we do it, by making space and taking time to reflect on this stuff and to have these conversations. And then I want you to follow me. Okay. If you're seeing this video on someone's timeline, hello, nice to meet you. But I want you to follow me. I want you to be a part of my community. So follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, at Lead My Heart 2022. But also, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, okay? And you know what I want you to do? I want you to ring my bell, ring my right? I want you to ring that bell so that you don't miss any notifications of hot new content and videos that I am dropping, okay? So do that. Did you fulfill your assignment? I hope you did. And if you did, you get an A. And we love our A's, don't we? All right, so we're in episode number 3, talking about how to lead the heart of DEIB, discussing the benefits and the challenges of DEIB. Gonna keep it real, okay? Because there are great benefits, but there also are enormous challenges, okay, in DEIB, but also to get awareness of what I call the blind side of DEIB. Okay. And then also to learn best strategies to lead DEIB. So really talking to the heart of leaders today. I would say every episode is for any and everyone, but today specifically, really talking to the heart of my leaders out there, my fellow heart leaders who know it's just not leadership, but it is a God thing. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. So this is the first thing I want us to understand and really, take to heart. And that is that DEIB is a critical component of effective leadership. Effective leadership. I don't like to necessarily say good leadership. And by my saying that right now, I will probably say good leadership some point in this episode because it's like just what I say. I really don't like to say that, then I say it. But I'm telling you right now, though, I don't necessarily like to say good or bad leadership because we're all at different levels in different places when it comes to leadership. Maybe as new leaders, maybe as very experienced leaders, maybe as leaders who haven't gone through the hard stuff quite yet to really bring out what's in us in a different way that changes us, that changes our heart about people. So we're in different places, and that's okay. But I need you to know that when it comes to effective leadership, meaning your leadership fits the purpose of the organization, your leadership fits the needs of the people that you're serving and working with, that your leadership actually is helping you advance towards your goals, that's effective leadership. And I need you to know that DEIB is a critical component of that. Okay. How so? Well, because DEIB is the Starbucks experience of leadership. You know, I like Starbucks. I do. I don't like the price, though. I like to make my own coffee here. And I think, if you followed me, you know that. I enjoy making great coffee at home or having, my favorite kind of mix of teas and the herbs and spices that I use. But nothing wrong with Starbucks, but the one thing that Starbucks introduced to our society, if you will, in business practices is that mass customization, that mass personalization of your coffee. And that was remarkable, right? It changed things. And then you see other companies, whether in restaurants, whatever, kind of following that same model. But my point here is that DEIB is the Starbucks of leadership, whereby a leader's adaptability, you're having the capacity to adapt, which is so necessary, is so key to leadership. Creates the customized experience to help members feel seen, heard, and loved. And I'm here to tell you that employees have to feel seen, heard, and loved. I've been talking a lot about purpose and purpose being the key unifier, that first you have to define your purpose and then invite other people to the table. And purpose says that they belong there, that you all belong at the same table. And that doesn't mean that if you're called there, if you have purpose there, that you still won't face challenges, that you still won't feel uncomfortable at times, that you still won't, find it difficult or, challenging to see people and to be seen. You will experience that even in places where you know you belong there because of your purpose. You know you have alignment there. So again, even under the best circumstances, DEIB is not without those type of complications. However, we have to understand as leaders that people, including you, right, want to be seen, heard, and loved. Loved. We're comfortable with the word seen. I see you. We're comfortable with the word heard. You know, I hear you. I'm listening. Oh, but love? Oh, then we get a little like, wait a minute. Yeah, love, because that is the greatest commandment, to love God with our whole heart, soul, and mind, and to love others as ourselves. So let's get into that kind of loving others as ourselves piece and this whole Starbucks experience. When you go to Starbucks, you have a company, right, that is saying, we have everything you could possibly dream of, for the most part. That's the idea anyway. To create the kind of coffee that is satisfying to you. So what happens is that members, and I say members because from this concept of we're one body with many members, your organization is a body, okay? And everyone you invite to the table who is aligned with purpose, whether it's your employees, whether it's your clients, your customers, your constituents, your members, you're all members of one body. But when you walk into Starbucks, there's this expectation that the client, the customer knows what they want, and they're able to communicate that. They may not have language of the venti and gosh, I can't even remember. So there you go. That's a prime example of not knowing the appropriate language. Just like, give me the large one, give me the medium, give me the small, right? But we know they have different words for their sizes. But nonetheless, oh, grande, I think that's another one. Grande, venti. I can't think of the other one. But anywho, the expectation is that you're able to communicate that. And so with that in mind, there's an expectation that you know what you like, that you know what you need. And my question to us is, in places where you don't necessarily feel like people are utilizing the best practices of DEIB, where you don't necessarily feel seen or heard, do you know what would help you feel seen and heard? Do you really know that? Because I ask that because we don't often really know ourselves as well as we think we do. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to admit that, gosh, I kind of think I know what I need to be successful here and to feel seen and heard. But maybe not. Maybe I'm not so sure. And that's okay in a way to not be sure and to say what you need and then go back and say, you know what? I know I said this is what I needed, but actually, I think I really need this. That's a little different from that. But it comes from a place of being transparent and having clear communication with your supervisors and your leaders and your team members. But you have to first know what it is that you need and taking time to explore that. Okay. So that's the first part of this whole Starbucks experience of DEIB. But then you have the leaders, Starbucks in this metaphor, okay, who provide it, right? They say, okay, this is what you want. Awesome. That's exactly what we're going to give you to feel seen, heard, and loved. But it's just like when I went to, where was I the other day? I pre-ordered a latte at Dunkin' Donuts. And I get to Dunkin' Donuts and they're like, sorry, but we're out of espresso. And I was like, what? You're out of espresso? How are you out of espresso? Like, you only do like donuts and coffee. Like, isn't that why we're here? Like for this, right? And they're like, yeah, we ran out. And I was like, what do I do? Like, she's like, do you want another drink? I was like, well, no, because what I kind of need right now is that espresso. I need that latte and not just, your regular brewed coffee. And so I had a choice to make, either to be open to something else or to say, no, I know what I need. You can't provide it, so I'll take a refund. And so in this example, they weren't in stock. And you might find that in your organization, they're just simply not in stock of what you need. What do you do? What do you do? Or as leaders, you don't have the stock, you don't have the capacity to fulfill that need. What do you do? What do you do? Do you have the heart to say, to be honest and say, we don't have the current capacity, but I want to learn more. I want to know more of what that looks like so I can try my best to provide you with that, to source that for you? Or do you say, honestly, not only is that within our capacity, but it's also not in alignment with our mission, our vision? We're sorry. That's an honest and transparent conversation too, right? That is valuable. And whereas people can be upset about you being honest about what you can't offer, and on the flip side, people are being honest about what they need. Those are difficult, but yet crucial conversations we have to have. If it's one thing if I want what Starbucks can provide, but what if I ask for chopped mangoes, pieces of mango to be put in my coffee? I don't know. Because that's what I like, that's what I need. And they're like, I'm sorry, we don't provide mangoes. That's not a part of our stock. We don't source that. We can't provide that. Then I have a choice to make as an employee, as a member. Okay. Starbucks has a choice to make as to whether or not that's something they want to add to their menu or consider. But we have to either look at the mutual benefit and satisfaction of both the customer and Starbucks, of both the member and the leader and the organization, or we got to be open to trying something new to expand in our capacity. So, going with that, leaders who aren't willing to adapt aren't willing to lead. Now, adaptation is going to look different for different people and different phases of their leadership, of their life, of their personal growth. You're not separate from you as a leader. I know we would love to be sometimes. I even had a professor one time to say, you leave your personal stuff at home and you go to work as your professional self. That sounds cute, but that's unrealistic. And why are we even talking about unrealistic things, about impossible things? And we shouldn't want to leave our personal selves at work. We are one entity. We have one life. And our desire should be to bring our whole self into the workplace. But to be able to reconcile, how do we do that in the best way to both achieve our goals as a leader in our organization, but also not feel like we're jeopardizing or compromising who we are? So we have to be willing to adapt. And if you aren't willing to adapt, you're not willing to lead. And if you're not willing to lead, you must step aside. You must. Maybe it's leadership in this current organization. Maybe that you need to go to another one. Maybe leading right now in this environment is asking too much of you that you're not willing to give. Step aside. And we have to be honest with ourselves when that's necessary. So, let's talk about the benefits of DEIB. We know that it's a two-way street. We know that we both have a role in communicating. Now let's talk about the benefits of it, which are several. To improve organizational performance, because the data shows that the more diverse and in many different ways that your organization is, there's going to be higher performance in comparison to competitors that don't have as much diversity. Also, enhance reputation and brand. Why? Because diversity is good business. Because when you're talking about wanting to serve your clients and your customers well, you know that they want to see representation. They want you know they want to know that their preferred organization or place of business understands who they are and what they need. And then also legal compliance. It's just good business to do the law. Right? It's just good business to follow the law. And there are laws that protect the rights of people not being discriminated against. Okay. Also, it's to attract and retain top talent, because people who are really at the top of their game, who are being effective leaders, who really excel at what they do and have the right mindset to go and push forward change and be a change agent, the people that you want on your team, guess what? They embrace this. They understand this. And they adapt quite easily. So those are the people, the characteristics that they have of top talent. And by you putting this at the forefront and making it a priority in the work that you do and how you do it, you're going to attract and retain top talent. And then also addressing social issues, being a champion, an advocate for things that you know aren't right, injustices in our society, injustices in your organization. And this is the way that we do that. But let me ask you this, or maybe you're asking me, you're talking about all the great benefits of DEIB, but is it ever a problem? Is diversity ever a problem? And I do want to offer you one perspective regarding this. And and it's talking about homogeneity. Okay. Let's talk about that. So homogeneity, when I was teaching my graduate students in China, I was teaching them academic research and writing and all of that, within the context, of course, of English as their English teacher. And so in one of our lessons, we talked about, in a listening exercise, and I always try to bring in multiculturalism, globalization, to expand their mind about certain issues and how we interact with each other. And so we watched a video on YouTube, I think, or from YouTube rather, that was about the cultures within Finland and the Netherlands and Denmark and those places, and how homogeneous those societies are, and how they're also, though, considered to be some of the happiest people on the planet and these type of societies. And when they looked at how these societies were made, they realized that one of the most common things about them that they all had in common, was that they were homogeneous. Very little diversity. Little diversity in politics, religion, race, ethnicity, okay? And the complete opposite of America in most countries these days. But they're considered to be some of the happiest people. And so, not to say that it's cause and effect, but you can look at correlation and relationship, using my research terms here, right? That there seems to be a relationship between, homogeneous societies and greater happiness there. And when you think about it, the one thing that offers, that homogeneous society offers, is building more trust and cohesion. Less back and forth, less arguments about differences and rights of people, because for the most part, you all agree about what matters and how you express yourselves, how you live in that way. And so there is something to say, there is something I think that we can pull from this, is that we need to be purposeful in the type of diversity that we initiate. And I see diversity misused in some organizations. And I say that from the standpoint that the diversity that they're prioritizing does not help them serve their clients or customers in any better way. The diversity that they're prioritizing is not representative of the people they say that they serve, the people that they say they actually came together around to serve in a better way. And so my recommendation here is always understand the purpose of your diversity initiative. What's the purpose behind it? Because cohesion, building trust that can be fostered within a homogeneous community, maybe of all women for a purpose, maybe of all Christians for a purpose, okay? Maybe of all people who are of the LGBTQTS plus community for a purpose, people who are all African American for a purpose, or all Hispanic for a purpose is necessary. Okay. So I won't beat that to death, but I did want to touch on that today. So then that kind of moves us into the challenges of DEIB. You know, the difficulty in understanding and addressing unconscious bias that we talked about yesterday, that we all have preferences, we all have favorites, we all have um, partiality towards certain things, because as humans, we just like things or we don't like things. Sometimes there's reasons, valid reasons. Sometimes it's just because it's trending. Okay. But it's difficult to address that, especially when we don't have yet the capacity or the courage to come to face with the things that may not be correct in how we believe or feel regarding someone that's hurting them and jeopardizing their progress. Also, it's a challenge in building a culture of inclusivity, but we have to do that by making sure that the policies that we have in organizations and our ways and practices of doing things, that the infrastructure is there to do it. And that's also by addressing the structural and systemic inequities within our organization. The challenge of adapting to diverse and a rapidly changing workforce. That's a difficult thing. And so, you know, we can say all day long that, oh, white people need to get used to it. This is changing, but it is also changing. And whichever side of the table you're on, you know, we also have to be open and realize that for people of the white community, it can be a challenge of understanding all the needs that different minority groups have and how to have those conversations. So it's important that we're patient with each other, that we don't jump to conclusions, but for a moment we empathize and say, okay, this is what the workplace has looked like for you for the last 30, 40, 50 years, and it's rapidly changing. How do you adapt to that? Also, gosh, the challenge of balancing the needs of different groups. Women need this, men need that, Christians need this, Muslims need that, LGBTQ2S plus need this. You know, people who are creatives, oh gosh, creatives need this. People who have a certain cognitive capacity, you know, they want certain structures and things, they need this, and trying to like provide the needs of people from these backgrounds who have been in prison, who have been, you know, migrants, and all these different experiences. What do they need? It can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. Trying to keep up on the new language, trying to keep up on the new terms, and making sure that you're using language that is going to be welcoming and not necessarily, you know, rejecting, you know, people. And how do we stay abreast of all of that? in addition to trying to still do your job well and run a company and meet your goals and strategize and learn marketing, learn social media and learn how to budget and right? All that pressure. But by the grace of God, we'll do what we need to do, right? Taking one thing at a time, learning to balance the priorities that we have, and just creating the space to reflect on where we are with these things that are important to us. So when it comes to DEIB, I have what I call anchors that I want to talk about. And these anchors are, gosh, when I don't agree with you, when I'm so uncomfortable with how you want to do things, with how you want to express yourself, with how you want to be, the way you want to process this, the way that you want to run this, the way that you want to manage this. I just, I can't get with it. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. That's just being honest, right? Because we're not going to like everything. We just don't. We're human. But how do we have partiality and not show it? Not show it, which James chapter 2 talks about. Okay. The idea that, yeah, we're going to have partialities, but it's a sin to show them. It's a sin. It's wrong. It's hurtful to ourselves and others to show favoritism, to show bias. So what can anchor us in these moments where we're like, all I want to do is show my bias. All I want to do is show how, like, I don't like this. I don't agree with this. And there are times and moments and spaces when it's okay to, of course, express your disagreement. I'm not talking about just disagreements, but when it's directed towards people and how they want to be. That's the problem. Not against the things or the situations, but the person, the spiritual being in front of you. The spiritual being in front of you who has a need for purpose and partnership just like you do. Who has a need for calling and community, for a mission and membership just like you do. We can be anchored by respect. We all want that, right? We all want respect. No one ever wants to feel disrespected. We can be anchored by empathy. Gosh, you know what? Let me put myself in your shoes for a day. Let me follow you. Let me live with you in this space of where you work and how you do things to experience what you're experiencing so I can have a better understanding. You know, I can be anchored in inclusion. I want to be included. I do. For things that are important to me, the things that I give my time to, I want to be included. I can recognize that. I can embrace that. That even though I don't agree with everything, I can understand and be anchored in the fact that I know what it feels like to want to be included. And I want that for you. Human dignity, the freedoms to feel and be the way you want to. I want to be free to be me. I want to be free to be and express myself the way I want to, but also having high aura intelligence and understanding with maybe how my expression may impact other people in the moment and whether or not that's beneficial to the work that we're doing or our purpose. The other AI, aura intelligence, sorry. But then also love. The fact that, you know, you want to be loved. I know what it means to want to feel loved and see people act in love. I can understand that you want that. I can understand that perhaps um, the agreement that we can come to, the compromise that we can come to, is not necessarily going to cause cognitive dissonance in my spirit because I feel like I'm doing something against the core of who I am on my core beliefs. But can I do it as an act of service to you? as an act of service. For example, the people have all sorts of ideas about people, you know, panhandler asking for money on the side of this road. Okay, you might feel like, gosh, why don't they just go get a job? I hear all kind of things. Why don't people just go get a job? Why don't they put the effort into applying? And well, you don't know their story. You don't know the things that led to that moment. But yet, they're in need because they're saying they're in need. They're communicating that they're in need. They're communicating that they need some money to eat, or to do whatever it is that they need to do. You have a choice to make. You can either allow your disagreement of how they got there and how they need what they need stop you from being a decent person and just sharing your heart, sharing what you have. Or you can got here, I can give you money as an act of service to you. As an act of service. And I know that's the heart of God for us too, as we love one another. That don't let our disagreements get in the way of serving one another to meet a need. And the Bible talks about how the only thing that is unfair of not being or not serving justice to other people is when we don't provide what they need. Faith, the belief that God is in you, that I may not necessarily agree with how you walk around with him and what you do with him, but I have faith to know that you are a spiritual being created by God just like I am, that you are loved just like I am, that you are considered, that you are seen and you are heard just like I am. And I can choose to let my faith in that belief be enough. Okay, so these are my anchors. These are my anchors that I go to and that I'm sharing with you, of how that in the midst of having difficulty and coming into agreement with what people need, or providing what they need, allow these components to anchor you. And then we have the blind side of DEIB, the blind side. And it's this idea that when you look at a spiritual being, when you look at that person who's not just an employee, but that person was once a child growing up in a culture and an experience. You're looking at a person who's not just an employee, but they are a parent, they are a spouse, they are someone's child still, right? No matter how old I am, I'm always going to be my parents' child. That will never change. No matter how old I am, I will still always be their child, not their adult. Sorry, it sound right. Yes, their child is an adult, but at the end of the day, I will always be their daughter. Okay? And so there are roles and responsibilities that come with who we are, in addition to being employees and leaders. And so this is something that we have the opportunity to see both ways as people who are on our teams, but also those we serve. But the thing is, when you look at that spiritual being, you don't always see what you need to see, or you don't always know what you need to know about that person. So I have some pictures here, and you might look at this picture and say, oh, wow, they're gathered together. And you can assume that the reason they're gathered together is because they're all women. But what if they're gathered together because they're all mothers? What if they're gathered together because they all worked in Peace Corps at one time? You don't know. You don't know. But sometimes when you see groups of people together, you assume what's important to them or what's bringing them together, and we can't do that. Or look at this picture of these beautiful women in their Chinese cultural dress. But when they come to work, they're in culturally assimilated professional dress. They're wearing a simple dress or business suit. But their identity is that you see there. That's the core of who they are. You know, we look at people coming in and they assimilate, they adapt to their environment, and it causes a blind side to who they really are. You know, like I remember one time I was in a phase of wearing hair wraps. I just really liked the idea of wearing hair wraps, and I really just felt connected to my culture in that way and saying like, this is okay. This is what we do. We love hair wraps. And I started out with like a very um kind of thin hair wrap, just going around the outside of my head and then just letting my hair come out over it. And but gradually I added more and more and more to then having my whole head wrapped and covered. I didn't have to necessarily do the gradual thing, but because people were so used to not seeing it, and then I'm like going through this phase where I'm like, no, like I want to wear this at work, like I want to express this at work. I did it gradually. Why? Because of aura intelligence. I know, you know, how people see certain things, not necessarily correctly or for the right reasons. But I was still sensitive to the fact that as I wanted to express myself in a different way of what I consider also to be professional dress, I also understand maybe there's a gradual way to do it or a better way to do it. Not everyone has that type of mindset, but I did. And I want to share that with you because, you know, regardless of how people choose to express themselves, if these women went to work in their cultural dress, they're just as professional in their cultural dress as they are in an assimilated um, professional dress of a business suit or a dress. Okay. And then, or a professional dress, rather. And then we have this guy here who, looking at him, he could be a leader, he could be an executive. Who knows? He could have just graduated from college and he's on an interview. We don't know. We can't assume. We can't assume his sexual orientation. We can assume um, his background. What if he was released from prison just yesterday and is now like dressed up, cleaned up, and he's like, I'm ready to go out and find that job, to find that opportunity for someone giving me a chance. We don't know. We can't make assumptions. And so it's I want to encourage us to be aware of the blind side of DIB and to just be aware of our conversation, of our dialogue, our discourse, the words that we choose, and to whom we're talking to when we're talking to, especially when we're trying to encourage and motivate people, and you're not fully aware of their identity. Which brings up another point. You never know how people primarily identify. I shared this, I think, and I can't remember, it was yesterday, or I think it was yesterday in episode number 2, where I talked about my primary identity is as a Christian woman with a PhD. Like, and the reason I related to the PhD is because of the journey that I had, the experience that I had. It really left an imprint on my life, but also how much I just love research. I love analyzing. It's just a part of who I am, just as much as being a Christian and living my faith and my relationship with God. And I also wake up feeling like a woman. Now, I didn't say an African American or a Black woman. I don't wake up feeling that way. most of the time is brought to my attention depending on the type of environments that I'm in. I don't necessarily wake up feeling creative. I don't wake up feeling or move in spaces. Well, I do, I guess, when I wake up and I actually get going, I kind of do. But what else about me? American. I don't primarily identify as an American. However, when I lived in China, I very much primarily identify as an American because in every space I moved in, it was kind of brought to my attention, and I culture of being American. So I say that to say, one, you got to get to know people to know how they primarily identify, to be able to speak to the needs of that person in a space. So in different environments, that might change a little bit of how primarily people identify in that particular environment, in this meeting, and in this organization, when they're with these people. Like when you're at home, you don't probably necessarily feel like the CEO. When you're at home, you primarily identify as, I'm a father in this space, I'm a mother in this space. And this is the role that I have to step into. So just to give you some reflective considerations there of just, again, being aware of the blind side and being mindful of how we relate to people, how we conversate with people, how we interact with people because of the blind side. So what must leaders do? Okay, where do we go from here? Well, as I talked about yesterday, Lead My Heart is an acronym. Lead means to love, educate, affirm, and deliver. That is the core of leadership. That's what I teach. That's what I believe. That's what I know. Love, to educate, to affirm, and deliver. To truly love people. And to love means that you exercise forgiveness. And these aren't things we normally talk about in the workplace and working on teams and stuff, but only we love talking about it at church when we're talking about our spouse or our children and things like that. But y'all, or even how God forgives us. But we have to exercise forgiveness on our teams with our leaders and our supervisors and our subordinates. That's love. We have to love people by taking action, because love is a verb. It's not a feeling. It's what we do to show people that I do forgive you. You are seen, you are heard. And we do that by loving others as ourselves. But you know how the first part of loving others as ourselves is that we have to love ourselves. And if we're honest, a lot of us are dealing with unresolved issues of insecurity, self-doubt. We don't believe that we're enough. I want to let you know you are. No one goes to a seed and says, seed, as you grow, I'm going to keep adding to you. I'm going to keep adding to you so that you become that tree you need to become. No. That seed has everything inside of it in seed form to become a tree. But it's how it reacts to its environment. It's how it's resilient. It's how it withstands change and adapts that determines how tall of a tree, how strong. But everything it needed to be a tree is in that seed. And in the seed, the form of you that God created, you got enough added to you. You are enough. So it begins with loving yourself, and then you can love others as you want to be loved. And then educate. We have a responsibility as leaders to share knowledge and to get an understanding, to not just educate others, but to also seek education, seek understanding, to educate ourselves on issues and things that we're not aware of. It's also a responsibility to affirm. And how do we affirm people? Not just by pats on the back and saying, good job, you're doing the right thing, you're going the right way, do it, do it, do it, go, go, go. But we also affirm by leading by example, by being accountable, doing what we say we're going to do, and listening actively to people that we work with, that we love, okay? And so it's in our actions. We have to be a model of what we say we stand for. And we have to be a model and an understanding that what other people have brought to the table and say that's important to them, well, we have to model that it's important to us too. And then we have to deliver. We have to deliver. And I see this from two different perspectives. Not only to deliver by, hey, doing what we said we were going to do, always say under promise, over deliver, right? But then also, making sure that we show up for people in that way. But then the other deliver is to move people from one place to another as God delivers us. When we're praying to God for deliverance, we're praying for God to move us, to shift us from one phase of a life to another one, to move us from something, to take us out of it, and to move us into a place of freedom, a place of refreshing. Where there's no longer bondage, where there's no longer things that are trying to stop us from becoming everything that God has created us to be, to remove those barriers. That is deliverance. Moses was considered a deliverer because he set people free. He delivered them. He took them from one place to another. And as leaders, we're also called to be deliverers, to move our organizations from one place to another, to move our teams from one place to another, our community from one place to another. That's what leadership is all about. To love, educate, affirm, and deliver. Do it in your organizations, do it in your business, do it in your marriage. Husbands, lead. Lead. So you need to create an action plan, right? Because now you've gotten all this good stuff. You're aware, you understand, your heart is open. What now? Well, now you have to go back to the drawing board in your business and organization and create a DEIB action plan. And this is how you do it. 10 steps, okay? Where these dots should actually be numbers, but anywho. This is that 2 a.m. stuff. But number one, pray and seek guidance. That's always where it's going to begin, because we need guidance that's bigger than us. I want to go to God who can see everything. I'm in my office right now, and y'all, I don't know what's happening outside my window. I have an idea. I couldn't even tell you what the sky looks like. I don't know what's happening on the roof right now. There could be a bird. There could be a hole forming. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know what's like behind me. Maybe I'll drop something on the floor. I don't know. I know very little. There are other people here. I don't know what they're doing. I said so much of what I don't know right now. I know so little as to what's happening around me. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30 minutes, next 5 hours, next 5 weeks. I don't know, but God knows. And so why would I put so much on myself? Why would I put so much pressure on myself to know, when really I just need to go to the one who knows it all and can guide me and deliver me as to what I need to do? So pray and seek guidance. Assess the current state of DEIB in the organization. How do you do that? You create surveys, you talk to people, you have focus groups, you get an understanding of how people are feeling. Do they feel seen? Do they feel heard? Do they feel like they belong? Because belonging is the heartbeat, right, of the organization. Oh, and when that heart stops, trouble. Number 3, develop a clear DEIB vision and mission statement. so that it's before you. And I encourage you to do this not just for DEIB, but for, each department. For the finance department, what's your mission? What's your vision? For the manufacturing, what do you do? What do you do and how you do it? So you have your overarching vision and goals, and mission for the organization, but what is each department responsible for doing in alignment with that? Because DEIB shouldn't just be this, but it is a priority. So what is the mission and vision for your priorities? Then also establish DEIB goals and metrics. Okay. Those steps that are going to get you to that vision, to see it manifest, what is going to get you there, and what measures and metrics will you have to know that you've arrived, that you've accomplished that. Also create an action plan. Okay. Now that you have your what's next, how are you going to achieve them? Train and education to your teammates, your members, your constituents. Okay. Hire me to come and talk about these things in your organization. That's what you need to do. Go to leadmyheart.com, fill out the booking talk, and let's see how we can partner in helping you achieve your goals and developing an action plan. Okay. Also increase representation at every level, not just entry level, but also in your executive suite, your C-suite. Okay. Because we know that the data shows that where there's more diversity at the executive level, okay, you're gonna outperform your competitors. Also promote an inclusive culture. Put it in your policies and procedures. Put it, encourage, remind people that we're about this. This is what we do. We embrace one another. Hold leaders accountable. It begins with holding yourself accountable. If you're not willing to hold yourself accountable, don't you dare try to hold someone else accountable. Oh, no, 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 no. It begins with you. So you have to make sure that you're accountable so that when you go to hold someone else accountable, you're found faultless. What does the Bible say? Jesus said to his disciples, be as shrewd as a snake, but as innocent as a dove. And then monitor and evaluate your progress by constantly asking those questions, giving out that survey again, saying, okay, is this working? Are we seeing the progress that we want to see? Where do we go from here? What is the future of DEIB? Well, the future is bright. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to become more and more important. As demographic shifts, you're going to see more and more diversity in the workforce. As globalization continues to be a thing where, you're working with people from all over the world. You have teams built from people from all over the world. Isn't it amazing? It's exciting, but it does also present challenges. The future of DEIB, again, is going to be your key piece in recruitment and retention efforts. It's going to help you be more innovative by bringing different people with different ideas and perspectives together. Oh my gosh, just think of the innovation. The idea that people can create and connect across different fields and is amazing. The kind of creativity that can come out of that. I think one of the things that helped me excel most in my classes, and if any of my former professors or teachers are watching, they can attest to this. I could talk about anything. I don't care what my professor was talking about, my teacher was talking about. I could talk about anything and provide a relevant story. And I could easily see how what we're talking about here in history or ethics is related to something we're talking about in psychology, or how psychology, I'm going to find a way to relate it to business law. And I'm going to find somehow or another to relate something in business law to fashion. Is what I do. And, through that, I have seen how that has enhanced my own creativity by seeing and even forcing the thought of how do these things come together? What do they have in common? How does this relate to another thing? And the more you can do that, the better leaders, researchers, thought leaders you'll be. But also, business performance is dependent on diversity. You're going to, again, serving your clients and customers well, and that's going to help increase your performance, compliance with laws as they continue to change. Okay. And then also, it's going to enhance your discipleship. That's what we're about here at Lead My Heart. We're about discipline, development, and discipleship. Okay. And we talked about in episode number 1 how DEIB is a major part of discipleship. One of the reasons that the 12 disciples were so effective in ministry that what's the word I'm looking for? But the effect, the impact of the ministry continues today all throughout the world is because they were diverse. They had different strengths. They had different capacities. They had different backgrounds, work experiences, and all of them were used to the glory of God as a powerful team. But also in how they were able to reach people and spread the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, the Savior who died for everyone. No matter creed, background, or any of that, he died for everyone, even before they believed, even before they accepted him, even before they embraced him. Even those who put him on that cross, he laid his life down for them. He gave it for them. And certainly for you too. Okay. So I pray that this has been a blessing to you. Again, reach out to me. Y'all, I would love to come talk about DEIB in your organizations and your teams, in our coaching and my consulting, whatever it is that I can do to partner with you and use my gifts and talents to help you grow and be everything that God has called you to be. But just a quick recap, we've talked about how purpose establishes unity, and purpose is the primary thing. Okay, that's where we begin. Purpose reserves your seat at the table. Purpose says you belong here. You don't belong at every table. Everyone else doesn't belong at every table either. We have to know that. And sometimes God wants you to DIY your table, build it for other people. And if we would miss that, if we were welcomed at every table. Belonging is your heartbeat. Do you have a heartbeat? Do you have a pulse for your organization where you are, or are you out of alignment with your purpose? Also, all members are important, empowered, called, and connected in the body. Everyone who's called to be a part of what you're doing, to be in alignment with the mission and vision of your organization, you got to know each one of them important, empowered, called, and connected. So help them feel seen, heard, and loved. Also, there are 7 pillars of diversity that we talked about yesterday in episode number 2: enlightenment, energy, excellence, experience, education, ego, and evaluation. Gotta go check those out. If you didn't see episode number 2, you gotta go learn about these, y'all, because all the things we think about diversity, race, gender, sexual orientation, sex, education, all those things, guess what? Well, not so much education. I threw that one in the last one, not so much that one. But all the other things I mentioned, that's number 1. There's so many other ways of being diverse. So go check out episode number 2. Also, that we must not show partiality. We're going to have them, but we have to manage them so that we don't show them and hurt others and hinder others from being everything they're called to be. Also, understanding that our values anchor us, valuing respect, valuing empathy and human dignity, and our faith anchor us in the face of DEIB challenges. Leaders must adapt. That is a core part of being effective leaders. And also, DEIB is necessary for discipleship. We've talked about that. Other things, being aware of the blind side in navigating that. So let me know what y'all think. I would love to get your comments and feedback from this series. But y'all, I love you. Okay, comment, and if you haven't already, share this video. Share it on your timeline, share it in some groups so that others can be blessed by this as well. Okay. Thank you so much for your support of me, Leap My Heart, of the series. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. And you can learn more about me. You can learn more about my executive coaching and consulting. You can learn more about just Leap My Heart in general at leapmyheart.com, or follow me at Leap My Heart 2022. I'm sorry, I got distracted by realizing I never switched my lower third to say episode 3 at the bottom. Sorry, I get easily distracted by my mistakes, but anywho, it's all good. So fostering unity in DEIB, that is the series you've been watching, and this is episode number 3. But y'all, listen, I love you. I pray that you're having a wonderful day, and that is going to continue to be a purpose-driven, constructive, and intentional day. Go live and lead with purpose. And remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. Goodbye.